All right, welcome back to Live with No Excuses, where we get to meet extraordinary people who have overcome incredible odds. And today I'm excited to have a guest on that has an incredible story, but how I came across him was because of a clip from Superbad, John Mabry. John, I know you've been an ER, NCIS, a whole list of shows, but the fact that you're in a clip of Superbad, I think I'm so jealous of that. I asked Chuck before we came on, I was like, can we show a clip of that on the podcast? And, we try to keep foul language.
Yeah.
And you have one line.
One
We're
word.
going to show it. We'll probably bleep it out. But how did you end up doing that movie or getting into acting?
Yeah. So I'm a below the knee amputee. Thank you so much for having me on the show. First and foremost, it's an honor to get to talk with you, and thank you for your service. So yeah, losing my leg is maybe one of the least interesting things about me, because of some really, really interesting things have happened because of it. And so what happened was I was in San Diego wrapping up grad school with my master's in counseling post-amputation from a car accident. And what happened was my cousin, okay, this is interesting. So you were one of the first Afghanistan IEDs, is that right?
Yes,
Iraq?
yeah, I was hit, in Iraq, yep.
In 2005, is that right?
Yep, it was.
Okay, so in 2005, the first show to come out about the war in Iraq came out on FX. It was called Over There. And it just lasted one season, produced by Stephen Bochco, a 13-time Emmy Award-winning producer. And my cousin was cast as a lead actor in it. So this is the first show to come out about the war this is the first show to come out about a war while the war is going on. So it's controversial whether they should even be doing this. My cousin just happened to be cast as a lead actor in the show. We have a similar look and build. He calls me up from LA, and I'm in San Diego, and he goes, "Hey man, can you take me through your car accident, what you went through, to help me connect with my character? Because I'm gonna lose my leg in a roadside bomb, and my character in the 13 episode series is gonna be, getting back and wanting to go fight back over there. Hence the name of the show, Going Back Over There to Fight." And so one thing led to another, and I said, "What are they gonna do for your leg shots?" And he said, "Oh, probably just computer." I said, "Well, let me know if you need any help." And a few days later, he calls me back and said, "Hey, they want to see you." So I drove up to LA and show up on they were doing training. They were doing their combat, their training for the show with a Marine guy that was hired on as the Marine consultant. And I got the role. They said, "You're hired on as our technical consultant." So I was a body double.
Awesome.
I was a body double for my cousin. Yeah. And so that's how I got my foot in the door. So I got my foot in the door in the industry. I said, "There's a nice little niche." I said, who would have thought that there's roles for amputees that only amputees, should be playing. So,
that is that is awesome. And I felt bad that I jumped ahead so much, but I thought that was just, I wanted to hear how that happened. But now let's take a step back, because it's probably been about 25. How long has it been since you were injured?
25 years. Yeah. 25 years.
25 years. Yeah. I knew you were about 22 years old. Walk us through that. Share with us what happened and how you ended up losing your leg.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Texas and had I would say, relatively easy childhood. So I thought, we skip back to some of this later, but I'll just say I had some childhood trauma from ear surgeries that I didn't know, and I pushed it aside. Yeah. So I had a eardrum transplant and prosthetic bones implanted in my head. I had to fly out of state for a couple surgeries when I was a child, and so I didn't realize later that I was in a lot of trauma therapy and rehab, trauma therapies, that I really had some childhood medical trauma that I didn't know. And so from an early age, I felt defective. I felt broken. I was very insecure about myself. I'm different. Something's wrong with me. And had great support system, great family, but I overcompensated by being the class clown. I mean, my senior year in high school, I was named at prom. I was given superlatives for class clown, most outgoing, most cool spirited, and best personality. And again, later on, years later in trauma therapy, it was like interesting, because the therapist was like, "You felt insecure, broken, defective, something's wrong with you." But you're
always trying to raise the bar to,
Yep. And so graduated. I was a senior in college in Texas, And man, we were coming back from a spring break trip, Booze Cruise 2000. I'd set up this cruise for like 35 of us. 35 of us go out of, from Waco, Texas at Baylor University over to New Orleans. We go on this booze cruise. We're having a good time. We're on our way back from this amazing experience with friends and fraternity brothers. And it's just a freak. Nobody was drinking or driving or anything. It was just a tire blew out in a friend's SUV. Nothing we could have done differently. And tire blows out right rear side where I was a back passenger. 4 of us in the car. And imagine you're going down. Life couldn't be going any better. I was dating a cheerleader who was sitting next to me. She was a cheerleader at our school. She was our fraternity sweetheart. I was social chairman of my fraternity. I was on a full ride scholarship my senior year. I was doing video work for the athletic video staff. And so as a communications major, I was getting class hours and getting paid and got the same scholarship the athletes got, the football players got, to do video work. So my life could not have been going any smoother at March 11, 2000. And tire blows out and everything just slows down. The car just starts shaking violently. And I started thinking like, oh my gosh, this is not about to happen. This is not about to happen. And we veered over to the median, the grass median on I-40 outside of Houston. And we hit the grass at a 180 and then just started rolling. Witness reports say we rolled between 6 and 12 times. I lost count about 4 or 5. But somehow my legs got out the window and I saw I was conscious the whole time. And so I tried to pull my feet in, trying to pull my legs in, and just the force, you can't do anything about it. And so saw my legs getting crushed numerous times and the car ends up upside down. And I'm thinking, what happens in the movies when a car rolls 10 times? It blows up, So we were laying upside down, undid my seatbelt, and I thought, I got to get out. So I crawled out, or I go to stand up, and my ankle was split open, just completely split open. I was standing on my shin, and I could see the bottom of my foot wrapped up, and I could see the bottom of my foot because it was just kind of dangling. So I crawled out fast as I could, just frantically, and I get at a safe distance, and I look back, and all 3 of my friends are still in the car. And I was like, man, if this thing blows up and I'm sitting out here not helping, like I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So I was like, I'm going in. If it blows up, I'm going down with it. We're all going down together. So I crawled back in, got one person out. The driver was kind of pinned in and unconscious, not moving. My friend was tending to her. So 2 of us, myself and my girlfriend at the time in the back, got out. And what ended up happening is they brought in, first responders come in, jaws of life to cut my friend Ashley out. And they pull her out of the car. Helicopter lands on the side of the highway. So you got a helicopter coming out on I-40, traffic stopped on both sides. And they put Ashley in the helicopter and she passed away before they got her to hospital from head trauma. So her name is Ashley Furman. She was just 19 years old. I love saying her name and keeping her memory alive. So I ended up going through 14 various procedures that year, move into, going from this perfect life in college where I had everything I always wanted and dreamt of, and it was all just kind of falling into place. And then it's all just ripped away. Yeah. I'm living in a hospital bed in my dad's home office, my mom changing my urinal and not able to walk. And it was not fun, but the good thing is I had a good attitude. And I think that goes a long way, going into something with a good attitude. And so I had that class.
Well, how did you, but even that, I know just from my experience, like that doubt creeps in, that what am I going to do? Where's life going now? What hit you? Like, how bad did it get? Like, did you suffer from depression that took you a while to get through?
Man, so I pushed it off as long as I possibly could. I've listened to a little bit of your story, and how I feel mine is different is that I did not allow myself to slow down at all and allow myself to feel at all. I was like, what can I go accomplish? What can I go do? And I was actually just telling somebody this today, going through, another surgery. If those of you who don't know, I actually just went through surgery last week on my good ankle as a result of this car accident 25 years. So here I am 25 years later, still dealing with the repercussions. And, but what I just told a friend earlier today was that, like a lot of times I tell my story, but I don't feel my story. So,
I get that. Listen,
you
John,
know,
it's your interview, so I don't want to do too much talking, but
no.
like I tell people all the time. I told somebody the other day, it's been 20 years since I was injured. They're like, how long did it take you to deal with it? I said, well, about 2 years ago, I started really working on it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I tell you what, I knew exactly what you're saying about I'm trying to feel this, because I catch myself, whether I'm doing an interview, if I'm just out talking and I tell a story that I'm used to telling on stage or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I tell it in whatever form I need to tell it. And then sometimes, like, I've gotten to where I'm really trying to be in the moment, because it's one thing to tell a story, it's another to relive it and feel it and share those emotions
Yes,
that
and I
you
want to
go
connect with the
through.
audience. Yeah, I want the audience to be able to connect with the feeling, not just the story, because we all,
Yeah.
I mean, we all have different stories, but we all have the same feelings, or we all experience similar feelings of
Hmm.
fear and just disconnection,
Yeah. And
or
then let's
I'm
start
not
with
good
that.
enough.
Like, what was your biggest fear when this
Mm,
happened? As you were laying there, like you
mm,
said, in a hospital bed in your dad's office, in the home or wherever, like,
mhm.
what was your biggest fear? What was really tapping into you? What got to you at night when you were just sitting there?
My fear was that I was, let me think, that I wouldn't be able to live an active life,
Hmm.
that I was going to be bedridden kind of forever, and um, was I going to lose my leg? Because I had my leg for a year. I had 14 procedures in a year. And so it was just this constant going in for surgery, this constant disappointment of I would get my hopes up that this surgery was
Yeah.
going to fix it. This time it's going to be better. This time it's going to heal. And I had this, it was, man, and that's life for you, where you think you're going up and then boom, go back down, you go back up. And I go through all this
Yeah.
physical therapy, painful physical therapy. Like a therapist, this guy, Neil, would take my leg, and I had so much scar tissue around my leg. They had taken one of my abdominal muscles out. I had a muscle flap. They took one of my abdominal muscles out and attached it into a hole in the side of my foot, and did a skin graft, took skin off my hip, and did a skin graft over that. I mean, it looked like a piece of hamburger meat on the side of my,
Mhm.
ankle. And I felt like, man, I was lonely, man. I was
Yeah.
lonely, because nobody gets what you're going through. Nobody
Yeah.
gets what you're going through. But here's where things changed is
All right.
for that year, I'm going up and down, one step forward, two steps back, one forward, two back, and more pain pills and more alcohol, right? Just to kind of numb out throughout these early days of the process. What changed for me was when the doctor said, now we need to do a bone graft, and we're gonna fuse your ankle. You're gonna have a limp the rest of your life. You're gonna have surgeries the rest of your life. And we're gonna take bone out of your hip. It's gonna be the worst surgery you've had yet. So get ready, bear down. Now it's really gonna get hard. And I was like, are you kidding me?
No, I'm like, what? That is the most depressing doctor ever.
And so yeah. And actually, so I'll say on a side note, he just did this last surgery for me. I flew to Texas for him to do the surgery because he was so real with me. That's what I appreciate about him.
You're like, man, okay.
So he goes, this is gonna suck, but this is what you got to go through. And so I said, is there an
Yeah.
amputee that I can talk to? Is there somebody that's been through an amputation process that I could talk to see if maybe that's the better route for me? And
Yeah.
that's when things initially in that first year started to get a little bit better. It gave me some hope of going, you know what? I got to talk to a couple of guys, and they were like,
Yeah.
you're probably gonna be better off letting it go, if I'm being honest with you. And I was
I'd
like,
have told you the same thing.
I was like, oh, okay. So that's when it was like, and so I went into surgery. I went in for an elective amputation surgery, and there's a picture of me in the hospital bed about to go in for surgery. And the look on my dad's face is just horrendous. I mean, he's like, you don't want to see your son going through something like
Yes.
this.
Oh, yeah.
Where
Anything
I was
your
looking
kids
for,
go through is way worse.
yeah. And I was like, let's do this, man. Let's get it over with. I tied a bow tie around it, or a little bow around it for my doctor.
Yeah.
So I went into it with some high hopes, but that was a turning point for me in those early days.
Now, how long had that been? So from the car wreck to you deciding I want to have this removed?
1 year. It was a year and 2
1 year.
weeks
Okay.
from the accident to the amputation. So a year and 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I was ready to go. When I was.
Oh, I can just that is a tough year.
Dude.
Like, that's just reliving everything over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I can't eat, like, that's just, I'd imagine you got out of shape. Your mind, body, and everything's just a wreck.
I had a brace up to my knee, had a custom brace for my leg. I had a customized shoe. Here's what every 22, 23-year-old college kid wants is a custom shoe with a big sole on the bottom of it to raise your height up, because I was losing height to my ankle structure, and I had a cane. So every 22, 23-year-old college kid dragging this dead leg around with this cane, I'm just like, dude, let's cut the thing off. And it's a metaphor really for, I thought I could just cut the problem off and move on.
Oh yeah.
I said, let me cut the problem off and move on, but I never dealt with this. I never dealt with this.
That
so
takes
I
a little
thought,
more time.
well, it's kind of like if you're in a crappy situation in your life, you're like, I'm going to move. I'm going to change jobs. I'm going to change relationships. I'm going to change this, but you don't really change the heart and mind component of it. You just take you with you. So
yes, that's perfect. You just take you with you. That is perfect, John. Okay, so you get it amputated, and then what kind of changes do you make? What starts coming next?
6 weeks later, I walked the stage to get my diploma, my undergrad diploma. I walked stage on temporary prosthetic, and I said, I'm gonna go show the world I got this. And back to what I was saying earlier, when I was talking to a friend earlier today, I said, I had a friend tell me real early on, good thing this happened to you because you can handle it. And you know what? I couldn't handle this on my own. But I had this thought for early on that somebody planted with me of like, good friend. It's like, man, good thing this happened to you, John, because you're the type of guy that can handle it. So I thought I could, through this whole process, that I couldn't break down. I was like, oh, everybody expects me to be able to handle this. So I did whatever I could for as long as I could to say, I got this. And so I graduated college. I ended up in Texas, ended up going to San Diego State University to get my master's in counseling. I said, what better way to take what I just went through and be able to help other people? That was the goal. And what I found was I ended up using a 3-year master's program as a way to defer feeling my own feelings, working on my own stuff. Let me help you with what you got going on. Let's talk about your problems.
Before I deal with mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about you. So I don't want to talk about.
It's like having an out of shape personal trainer.
Exactly. Yes. Mentally deranged, poor mental health, anxiety, depression, addiction, all going on behind the scenes. I'm popping various prescription pills and alcohol, and but I show up and I got the grades and I got through the classes, and life was still somewhat manageable.
You knew the information, you just weren't doing the work.
Correct. So I got married in my last year in graduate school. She moved out from Texas to San Diego, and she was the first person to really kind of put a finger on something's not right here.
Yeah.
Because we were engaged in dating for 2 years in separate states. And it didn't take her long to move in to go, wait a second, something's off.
There's something's off.
Yeah.
My wife could be in this same conversation.
I
was amazing when we lived across the country from each other.
Exactly. I was perfect dating companion.
Yeah.
And so, and what it was for me was, I'll say it was Adderall, pain pills, alcohol, and then on top of the antidepressants that shouldn't be drinking on, some marijuana in there, but it was really the prescription pills, the Adderall and alcohol, and pain pills. I would rotate between those substances,
just taking, up and down and up and down.
Yes, yeah. Adderall, I'd take a whole month and 12 days, and I wouldn't sleep for days. I wouldn't eat, get skinny, and then I'd get off of those. I get on the pain pills or alcohol, and then I'm just dragging for the next several weeks, and just this cycle. But and right as I was graduating graduate school in 2005 is when I got the call for the show over there on FX. Mm-hmm. And so it was a perfect distraction of, whoa, I just got my master's in counseling and I'm supposed to go help people, but man, I'm not ready. And it was a perfect distraction to go, I'm gonna go to Hollywood.
Yeah, I'm gonna go do some of this. I'm gonna be an actor.
I'm gonna go over here. But I was working for, you've probably heard of them, the Challenged Athletes Foundation.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm working for them. Yes. Yeah. So I'm working for them in San Diego, in school. And I was I started off volunteering and then turned into a full-time job. And I set up the first clinics that they had. We did a clinic in New York City at Central Park and a clinic in Chicago and then a couple in San Diego. So I helped set up some of those early clinics that now they do nationwide. It's really cool to see how the organization has grown and raised over probably $150 million today.
I brag about, just real quick, CAF every time I meet a civilian that wants to get active, they want a running leg or something like that. I use the VA, but I always tell civilians, reach out to CAF.
Yeah.
Like they did. I've always been impressed with them.
Yeah, if you're an audience out there listening, or a family member of an amputee or somebody with a physical disability, Challenge Athletes Foundation supports people with physical disabilities to get them access to sports. And they do that through a grant program is their kind of signature program. You can fill out a grant once a year for equipment, competition, or travel expenses. So running leg, hand cycle, mono skis, training. They pay for my boxing training at Title Boxing. I don't have to pay for my my gym membership fees. That's what they pay for the last number of years. So great organization. So I'm working for them. I mean, look, I look great on paper, man. I'm working for a nonprofit. I'm helping people with disabilities. I'm helping them put running legs on kids. But behind the scenes, I'm this different person,
Yeah.
And so a great distraction was, man, I still don't want to deal with me. What? I'm going to go to Hollywood. And so, drug my ex-wife kicking and screaming up there, and ended up getting on NCIS and ER, and I've been the party of the Playboy Mansion with Adam Sandler. Been licked in a cab by Andy Dick. Got stuck in a cab with Andy Dick on New Year's one year, and he
is insane.
He's
I mean that in all due respect, but
yeah.
He's got some.
So I felt like I had become somebody. I felt like, what, look at me. I made it People Magazine. I was up my first show working alongside my cousin. We're in People Magazine. So that does something to my ego. Was like, look at me. Yeah. Some people work their whole life to get here and to get their SAG card, to get their Screen Actors Guild card. Some people work forever to get that. I got it in my first 3 episodes because I just stumbled into a role, and I'm doing what people their whole lives try to do. And it just fell into my lap. And I just took advantage of it, and like, look at me, I'm somebody cool. And I was a tool.
Trust me,
insecure.
You're telling my story. You could just flip this around. I know exactly everything you're saying.
Right. So
it does. And then it does. It continues to distract you from what you need to be doing.
Mm-hmm. And so while I'm in LA, I started getting some signs, some people, family members going, hey man, you think you might want to, tone back a little bit on some of the alcohol, or think you might want to try out a support group? I'm like, why would I try out a support group? Like, why would I go to AA? What are you talking about? Yeah. Like, I don't have a problem. And things got even worse while I was in LA. It was a few weeks after this Playboy Mansion experience. I mean, I was there with Emma Stone and Bruce Willis and all these A-listers, Ashton Kutcher, all these people were there, and I'm going, dude, I've arrived. Who doesn't want to go to LA and get blown up on Hollywood sets and play do stunts and get paid to do it, and then get to party with some of the biggest A-listers? I'm like, sign me up. I mean, I had arrived, kind of back to my college days when right before my car accident, I had arrived, and here I am again. I built myself back up, this fake self, but I thought I was somebody, and I got a call that my brother didn't show up for work. My brother was my best friend, my only sibling, and he lived right over the hill. He lived in Beverly Hills, rented a room at a house there, and he didn't show up for work one day, which was unlike him. He was brilliant, MBA from Georgetown, graduated top of his class from the University of Texas Business School, and he struggled with substance use disorder, struggled with addiction, mental health issues, and we didn't talk about it as a family. At this point in time, this is 2008, 2009, we didn't talk about it as a family. It's kind of like, you're really smart, go figure it out, Mm-hmm. And he got sober from alcohol for 1.5 years. And because when he would drink alcohol, he'd do harder things. So when he cut the alcohol out, he was better. But one night he went out and drank one night, and 2 weeks later I found him dead from an overdose. Literally, thank you, man. I remember using my prosthetic leg, one trauma I'd already had that I hadn't dealt with, and I used my prosthetic leg to kick in his bedroom door that was locked, and there's wood splinters out, and you walk into a scene of best friend had been deceased for 3 days. And before I walked out of his house, I grabbed a bottle of vodka, just chugged it, had to call my parents. Imagine making that phone call, you know, call your parents and be like, your son's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was this a wake up moment for you yet on what you were doing, or would this come up later?
No, it was not a wake up call. This was an excuse to keep going out.
Yeah.
This was
Now I have something to mourn.
Now I got
Yeah.
more. And so
Yeah.
I'm really good at playing the victim. Not anymore. I've been through a lot of freaking 12-step work and therapies and whatnot. I've sat with gurus in Bali and been trained in transcendental meditation and done neurofeedback and all these things. I'm really grateful to be of sound mind and sound heart only by the grace of God today through 12-step programs, in particular Celebrate Recovery, which is a Christ-centered 12-step group. But what I'm really good at playing the victim. I already had the leg. I could use that to use excuses to get pain pills and get access to medications and to drink. Oh, my leg's hurting, drink. Oh, I'm feeling good. Something good happened, drink. And so this was just another excuse. This was just and so we had decided already to move out of LA, had my firstborn child out there. And so we moved before my brother had passed. We had already knew we were going to move here to the Franklin, Nashville area. So 16 years ago, we made the move here. But like I said at the beginning of this interview, I just brought me with me, man. You know, I didn't deal with any of this heart and head stuff.
Problems and all came to Nashville.
Yep. You know, change your scenery, change your, playground. Doesn't matter. I still got the same crap going on that was unprocessed, traumas. And here's what the wake up call was for me was, do you know who Dave Ramsey is?
Yes.
All right. So I got in with Dave Ramsey, got a job when we moved here working for him. It took, at the time, 7 interview process. He has 7 interview process you had to go through. Now it's like 9 or 10 interview process. And he tries to weed out crazy people. He's like, my whole goal of setting up new interviews, these interview processes is to not hire crazy people. Well, I put on my acting skills and I got in there and I went through all these interviews, jumped through all the hoops. I had everybody fooled. And so, I'm on the phone making phone calls to churches, selling tickets on behalf of Dave Ramsey while popping pills and drinking, on the job. And so I got called into Dave's office and, HR's there, my manager's there, Dave's there. I'm sitting across this table from Dave Ramsey, somebody I really respected, looked up to. I wasn't listening to my family members saying you got some problems. Wasn't listening to the ex-wife. But when Dave Ramsey sits across the table and sits down and he's quiet with you and just goes, look, John, we can tell that you have some problems. And I can't help you with those problems. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you go so that you can go get the help that you need. Got my box, walked out, called my ex-wife on the way home, said I just got fired. I need help. Yeah. And that was 2011 when I was like, dude, this thing's bigger than me. This thing's, and it took me a good decade. It took me a good decade of just pushing, kicking the can down the street. Things will get better. If I get the commission, I'll feel better about myself. If I land that job, it never got better. It only got worse. And so I'm grateful for that opportunity to been called out. As embarrassing as it is, and I even hate putting it online because somebody's going to watch, my kids might watch this, one day down the road, but you know what? That's not me today. That's not me today. And I'm really confident in that I'm a different person today because of the grace of God.
I'll tell you what, there's nothing about that remotely sounded you should ever be embarrassed about because you recovered. You were able to, because I'll tell you what, it wouldn't have taken much to have lost that job, to have been fired, and then that be another thing that just sent you deeper in. But you took it as what it is and improved. And I love that you share that because that, I'm telling you what you already know, because that connects, that's relatable to so many of us to know that we can make mistakes. And then that can be our sign to get better. Because it's so easy to get caught up in feeling like, woe is me. Things just keep happening. Oh my gosh, something else. And it just keeps deeper and deeper in us until we make that moment of saying, I want to be better. I want to do better. I want to do better. Because you have So you were talking about the one child. You have 3 now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old are they?
So their boys are 17 and 14, and my daughter just turned 11 last week.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
yeah.
17 and 15. Did you say 15?
14. Yeah.
14. Okay. Yeah. I have a
Yep.
15-year-old that'll be 16 this year, a 17, 20-year-old, and a
Oh, wow.
2-year-old.
Ooh.
Yeah. I
Oh,
started
wow.
all over. Now, okay. So you started, 12-step program, all that AA, improving, getting better. Then you just really take off. Then you start doing well, I wouldn't say in my mind, from what I was looking up, when you really started making a difference in other people's lives. And tell me about the sock you designed for prosthetics.
Yeah. So that was, so Dave Ramsey.
I'm all over the place because I'll tell you what, I'm
Perfect.
going to get to in a minute is I want to talk more about mental health because you mentioned, so you do microcurrent neurofeedback.
I have, yes. Yeah.
I love it. We're going to get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Let's talk about the prosthetic and we'll get to that in a minute because I'm excited about both of these conversations.
I'm a visual learner. I got a prop here, taking my prosthesis off. So let me say, I only went through 5 rehab centers in 7 years and 3 sober living houses before I really got the message. So it wasn't like a change overnight. It wasn't like Dave Ramsey fired me. I went to treatment and everything was better.
I'm glad you said that because that's something people need to hear, that it doesn't happen the first time. It doesn't always happen the second. It takes several times of going through it for it to finally start happening.
Yep. I had to keep getting consequences, and then we'll get to the sock here. I had to keep getting consequences for me to make the changes necessary to really change my life. So I would do surface level changes to try to appease the ex-wife, or let me do this to keep the kids. I'll do this good enough just to keep the job. But it was really, it took me five times, 3 sober living houses, 3 times in intensive outpatient, tons of therapy. So if you're out there and you're struggling, hey, join the club. Welcome to the club. We're glad to have you, but keep coming back. Keep coming back. Yeah. And they would say that in meetings. I'd be like, shut up. Like, don't tell me that. But you know what? Like, I didn't give up. And I kept coming back. And I've been sober for over 4 years now. So, but
you know what? Hold on. Wait a minute. So I'm sorry, John. Another question that I just thought of. So when you first time you went to one of those groups, to a meeting, at what point? I was sharing this with a veteran I met in an airport where I was like basically telling him my story, but saying, hey, do you do this? He's like, how do you know so much about me? I was like, because we're all the same. You know what I mean? And I told him to go to a veterans group, because I would tell this to anybody, to go to a meeting, because then you'll hear someone else share their story and you realize that you're not alone in it. Did you have an experience like that? And of course, I think of all things, Kenny Chesney. Remember the song he did, That's Why I'm Here?
I don't remember that one. No.
So it came out in the 90s. I remember the video playing on CMT, but it was about going to an AA meeting and hearing somebody else talk. And then at the end of the song, he stands up and shares. But anyway, I'm all over the place. But yeah, what was it like for you in those meetings? Did you have one of those moments where you heard someone else's story that made you feel better about yours, or know that you could?
Absolutely. Not at first though. When I first went, because of my ego, because I'd been to the Playboy Mansion and I felt like I was somebody.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I got that.
I was like, I'm better than everybody else in here. Like, I'm not as sick as they are. I mean, I came in with this chip on my shoulders, and I went to my second rehab center. I would go to the first one, 45 days in Arizona. I come out, I go to intensive outpatient, and they were like, we think you need some more treatment. And I was like, what? Like, I just did 45 days. What are you talking about?
Yeah. What else do you want from me?
They said, we got this treatment center. It's right down the road here in Tennessee, and we call it Rehab for Big Boys. And it was an only men's program, and it was step 1 at the high-end treatment center I went to. Took me about an hour to present it to the group, my step 1. Well, in this treatment center, it took me 12 hours to do step 1. Oh. And it took me over 3 days, and you sit in a chair and you answer all these questions. It was like 70 questions just for step 1. And you're answering these questions, and the guys in the group, men's only, they're going around and they're calling you out on stuff. They're like, hey, on 37, you said this, and 38 said this. They said, you don't even realize it, but you're lying to yourself. Like, you can't even hear yourself lying, but we hear it right now.
Wow.
And it was like, what? And I had the counselor, I was on, it made it to step 2, and the counselor just throws his book down in the middle of my step work. And he goes, listen, John, I'm going to tell you something in here nobody out there is going to tell you, but it's because I love you. He said, all you are is a crippled effing drunk. That's all you are right now. And until you can come to terms with the fact that you're just crippled drunk, that you're just one of us, you're never going to make any progress, man. He said, get out of here, go to your room. And I was like, whoa, you know? And so to answer your question, I needed somebody to tell me real stuff of like,
Yeah.
dude, you are no better than anybody else in here. And I had to really, and it still took a couple treatment centers for me to really continue to break that down. But to answer your question, yes, in the rooms over and over and over again, I heard different scenarios, but the same story.
Yeah.
Different. It was all packaged differently, and what somebody else went through, but it was all, living in fear. I'm living off self-reliance. I'm self-centered. I just operate out of self-centered fear most of the time. And, so continuing to go back to those 12-step meetings, even when I didn't want to, saved my life, really. And they're free. It's free therapy, man. It really is. So if you're out there and you haven't tried 12-step work, again, for me, what worked is Celebrate Recovery. It's a Christ-centered 12-step group. But I have an AA sponsor. I have Celebrate Recovery sponsor. So I kind of work 2 programs.
I love that. And I love that you're sharing all that. That is so, that work is so needed. And to have success stories come out and to spread that, I hope someone hears this that's like, okay, I can do this, especially if they've gone through it many times.
Yeah,
and
keep
they still think they
freaking
don't have
going,
it.
man. So many times I didn't want to go back into a 12-step room after I had relapsed. There's just that, man, what are they going to think of me? And that ego would get in the way, and my self-centeredness would get in the way, and it's all about me. It's all about me. It's like, dude, just show back up. Just walk in the door, tell them you relapsed, and start over again. And it's okay. And that's okay. So if you're in that place today, please.
Now, so you are still dealing with injuries from 25 years ago. A week ago, you had surgery on your other leg.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be your left leg?
Yeah, my good foot.
Yeah, you lost your right leg. Yeah, your left leg, left ankle. Now, do you fear a relapse? Do you fear?
Dude, last year, I almost had my leg amputated above the knee last year. This is nothing. This prepared me for last year. I got an ingrown hair on my stump. Easter Sunday, I was on the operating table, and they said, because of the staph infection, we may amputate above your knee.
Ooh, that's a game changer.
Dude, I was beside myself. And I was there by myself. My kids were with their mom out of town for Easter. It's Easter Sunday. I just buried my mom a few weeks before in Texas. Literally, I'm on crutches because I had this ingrown hair. I couldn't walk. I was in crutches and wheelchair for 6 months last year, and I'm burying my mom February before last or March before last. And now I'm on the operating table, and they said, we may cut your leg off above the knee. And do you know who I called when I was there? It was like the loneliest I'd ever been right there last year, the loneliest I'd ever been. And I called my sponsor, right? I have all these contacts in my name. I got Kaylee Cuoco's number in my phone. I've got, people that, oh yeah, let's call somebody, some A-list or something. I know people. None of those people show up for you when you're in need. None of those people in Hollywood did. You know who showed up for me? The people in my 12-step groups. And I texted my sponsor, and knowing he's at church, everybody's at church at 11 o'clock on Easter Sunday. So I knew I couldn't ask anybody can you not go to church with your family to be here for me? So they postponed my surgery to 1 o'clock. And I texted my sponsor and I said, can you please be here? He and his wife were there when I got out of surgery. I had 17 visitors in the next 48 hours. And I had 50 visitors in that next 7 days. All because I had been going to these 12-step groups. I kept showing up.
To be there to show their support, man.
Even when I relapsed, I would show up to those 12-step groups when I needed them in the deepest, darkest moment of my life, when I was so alone, when my mom was gone and I couldn't call her. I just want to call mom and just be there. Tell me I'm going to be okay, mom. Just tell me I'm going to be okay. She's not there. I called my sponsor, and he was there, and it opened up the floodgates to all this help and all this food and all this support. People coming by to help me in my wheelchair to get me to appointments.
I love that.
Yes, man.
So okay, so We were going to get to the prosthetic stuff in a second, but I want to just keep on going with this mental health stuff. So, okay, your experience with microcurrent neurofeedback. So, okay, I love it. My teenage boys do it. They've noticed the difference. You know, I try to brag about when I meet people all the time. I'm like, have you ever tried microcurrent neurofeedback? Like, it might. Did you feel like there was any benefit from it?
Absolutely. So, like I said, I've been fortunate enough to have the resources and the time to be able to experiment with different therapies that a lot of people may not have the resources for or the time for. So I'll tell you of all the things that I've tried of the antidepressants I was on, and the therapies and the rehab centers and the sitting with gurus and huts in Bali, you know, all these things that I've tried. The thing that really turned my life around mentally was doing the brain mapping or neurofeedback.
Yeah.
And I've tried 3 different kinds. The one that worked the best for me is called LENS, LENS, low energy neuro something. But LENS neurofeedback for me, it like turned the volume down on my central nervous system. Because even though I was on antidepressants, it still just, it just masks what's really still going on underneath the surface, you know? And you remove the drugs and the alcohol. Okay, I can't do those anymore. I removed those, but I was still, I felt like, you know, when you're by power lines, you feel that reverberation of power lines.
Yeah. Yes. So you just felt like there was just a lot there was a lot going on, and
all the time I just felt like my
up,
system, my central nervous system, my spine was always like this tight knot that was just reverberating with like electricity. And going through the neurofeedback over several months, I just felt like the volume was turned down on my anxiety and my PTSD and my fear. And I got off antidepressants. I was on antidepressants for 20 years. I was able to get off antidepressants after 20 years for a non-invasive therapy it's not even talk therapy, really. It's just like you kind of sit there and it rewires your brain for you. It's kind of like cheating. I was like, can it be this
I love
easy?
It.
I feel like I'm cheating. Like, it should be harder, right? You know? So
I know for me, it was, you know, and my therapist says that, you know, what he has found is neurotherapy is really good, especially for people that have a hard time opening up with their therapist. It gets them to a level that then things are easier to start communicating with, you know, because I've gotten to, and I've been very open about all the different things I've done to experiment with mental health. I always tell people I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling people to try what I try. But like I've done psilocybin, I've gone to Peru and did ayahuasca, and I'm speaking at the Psychedelic Science Conference this next month in Denver. And I'm excited about that, but I've not been more impressed. Microcurrent neurofeedback has probably been one of the most impressive things that I've come across, not just because I've experienced it, but my sons have done it. And when I asked them their experiences, they said the same thing. Like, all of us have a short fuse. We get in our way. You know, once we get angry, we can't see anything else. And it's just red. And that has helped us calm down and actually have conversations with people that we couldn't have had before, because once we got mad, it was too much.
Yes. Good for you, man. I'm
And
so glad
I've been really impressed with it. Yeah. Okay. So as we go through this, before we go too deep into all of that, in a minute, I have a couple of questions I want to go through, but I want to take a second. Okay. So you're wearing prosthetics. I don't know a lot about it yet. I was about to research it, but I was like, no, I even told Chuck, I was like, I want John to explain this. It's not a liner. Is it a sock? Tell me what it is you invented.
It's a sock, man. I mean, who would have thought I'm laying
Well, first, let's explain to those who don't know anything about prosthetics, what goes on.
What the problem is. So here's what the problem is. For those of you who don't wear prosthetics, is sweat. So I got my liner here. So for those of you who don't know, for us amputees, put a liner on against our skin, and it's a silicone liner.
Which is silicone. Yeah.
It doesn't breathe. It doesn't, there's no way for it to breathe. It pools up sweat. Sweat gets into this is up against your skin all day long. And then you're inside a prosthetic socket, carbon fiber. You know, it's a hospitable environment, to say the least. It's very bacteria ridden. There's odor. You get ingrown hairs. You get blisters. people see people running on TV. They see you on the cover of, Men's Health and like, dude, that's cool. I'm going to do what that guy does. Like, you don't see the behind the scenes stuff. It's like, dude, you get blisters and, next thing you know, you're on crutches for a week because you push too hard. But
when you said ingrown hair, I was like, oh, that is the worst.
It's the worst. Oh, it's so small, but it makes such a painful little nagging impact on your life.
Yes.
So for years, my mom was like, somebody's got to come out with something. Somebody's got to come out with something for sweat. And I was like, it'd be nice. It'd be nice.
It'd be nice.
It would be great. So I'm here in Nashville, and I did a race for the Challenge Athletes Foundation in like 2011, 2012. I'd been through treatment twice. And so I achieved a little bit of sobriety there. And in that time of sobriety, I was like, you know what? I did this race for Challenge Athletes Foundation here locally. I go up on stage and take the big check and, tell my story a little bit. And it's always fun. We get to, receive an oversized check like that. So I was living it up. And at the end of the race, there was this local sock company called Swiftwick Socks. And I'll preface with, I have no involvement in the project. I have no involvement with the company. I don't get anything for sales. It's not worked in any kind of, I didn't have any contracts, so I kind of screwed myself, but it's a game changer for amputees. And I took one of their foot socks and I put it on my stump one day. And because I was wearing them on my feet, and I was like, dude, this feels so good. I'm going to put this on my stump and see what happens. I tried Botox injection, laser hair removal, painful, expensive things that nothing worked for sweat. And so I put the sock on and it changed everything. I did an hour on the elliptical. Normally I do 20 minutes before I have to dump sweat out. And I did an hour on the elliptical and didn't touch my leg the rest of the day, even after a workout. So you
didn't put the silicone liner on at all? You just put the sock on?
Yeah, no, you put the sock against the skin. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Sock against the skin. And then you put the liner on over that.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Okay.
So what's different about this technology because I try to, I sewed together a ShamWow. I'm like, a ShamWow's got to work.
Just anything. Yeah.
Anything. It's just like, something's got to absorb this sweat. But what would happen is any product you use, any cotton or anything, it would just saturate and then it would still pool up with sweat at the bottom. But what's different about these socks and this technology is it uses the hollow fiber. It's the only Nobel Prize winning fiber in the world called olefin. And so it takes all the sweat and stores it into the fibers. So the sweat is away from your skin, away from pooling up in the bottom of the liner. So it like disappears. You're like, but where did it go? Well, it's in the sock. So I use one of their
you acted that out.
Well, have you ever seen the movie Envy? You ever seen the movie Envy with Ben Stiller and Jack Black? They invent this product where it's like that makes the dog poo disappear. It's like this spray can. They're like, well, where does the dog poo go? It's like, I don't know. It goes somewhere. So the whole premise of the movie is like they make all this money off this. Anyway, so I was like, where does the sweat go? So I went knocking on the company's door and I said, hey, we could take your technology. I'm benefiting from it myself. We could create an amputee sock and change people's lives.
Yeah.
So within a year, I had worldwide distribution on the greatest moisture managing system ever created for amputees. And it was really cool because you've seen the movie Dolphin Tale.
Yep.
The movie Dolphin Tale. They created a tail for a dolphin. It's a real story, if for those of you who don't know. And the guy, Morgan Freeman's in the movie, and he plays the guy who invented the tail for the dolphin. So there's a real guy, Kevin Carroll, works for Hanger Prosthetics, largest prosthetic company in the world. And within 24 hours of us posting a video online of an amputee runner with and without the sock, I get a phone call from Florida. And I was like, who is this? And I pick up the phone and he said, yeah, this is Kevin Carroll with Hanger Prosthetics. And I'm like, yeah, I know who you are. I said, Morgan Freeman played you in the film. Like, I know who you are. And he goes, I want to talk to you about your sock. So within a year, I had worldwide distribution on this sock, and it's helped guys. Hunter Woodhall just won in the Paris Paralympics this last year.
Yeah.
Hunter, the double amputee, he won gold medal in the 400 meter, and he trains and competed in the sock. You can see my sock when he crossed the finish line in the Paralympics. And the guy that won.
Go ahead.
And the guy who won the gold medal the Paralympics before from Germany also trained and competed in the sock.
So is it custom? So I'm assuming they're custom made. Like,
no, so there's off the shelf. They're just different lengths, different sizes. Like different lengths.
Oh, just like you would a sock that you would normally put for
small, medium, large.
On top of your liner.
Yeah. So and they have above the knee versions and below the knee versions. And again, I don't get any I don't get any profit. I don't make any profit off this, but what happens is it changes people's lives. I mean, I just saw a girl a month ago in Oslo, Norway. She was putting on 2 socks on her legs in Oslo, Norway, and it's like, dude, that's
awesome. That's
because of
cool. You, man.
Because of yeah. And it goes back to my mom going, somebody's got to come out with something.
Somebody's going to do it. And you're like, well,
why not me?
Yeah, no, I love that. That's awesome. Very cool.
So,
and that, I know that not to say I could have ever have created anything, but I remember when I got injured all the time, like I was like, what if we did this? And my prosthetist always is like, yeah, we'll let you try it. But every idea I had was horrible.
Uh-huh.
And my prosthetist would let me try it just to me later come back and be like, no, that didn't work at all.
Yeah, bad idea.
All right. So, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's probably something your ex-wife would say too. Like, oh, I got this idea. No, that's a bad idea.
I know. Yeah. No, I don't know. Have you seen the videos of the guy that the wife is looking at tomatoes and she'll put one in the bag? He's holding the phone up and he'll take one out that she picked and hand it to her, and she'll look at it and be like, no. And he'll keep taking them out of the bag that she picked. She's like, no, you don't.
As long as it came from him, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So as we get to the end of the episode, so I'd come across these deck of cards a while back called How Deep Will You Go? And they have different levels, level 1, 2, and 3, that are labeled icebreakers, confessions, and then getting deep. And one day, me and my producer, Chuck, and I, we just sat, after I brought them in one night, we just kind of went through them. And it was really cool because it brings up questions you normally wouldn't think of to ask. And if it's okay with you, I pulled 3 random ones out.
Yeah, let's do it.
And we'll go through them. All right. Level 1. What is something simple that makes you smile? What makes you happy, John?
See my daughter.
Yeah.
My daughter.
She's the 11-year-old?
Yeah. Those of you who don't have a girl, you're missing out, man. Missing out not having a girl. Yeah, all I need is her little voice, and because my boys are a little older, they're in their teenage years, and they, dad's not cool, and we were we did the Titans 5K this last September, and do you know Sergeant Major Chris Self? He was one of the first guys to lose his leg in Iraq. Chris Self, he was
yes.
below the knee amputee. Anyway, I saw him up at the 5K, and he told my kids, it was like, your dad's in the greatest movie ever. He's in a scene in the greatest movie ever, and super bad. My kids are like rolling their eye. My boys don't care, but my daughter, she actually cares about me. And so when I had surgery last week, she's the one that reached out. She's like, I miss you. I hope you're okay.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah.
That makes sense. I love that so much. Yeah, I've got 3 boys and 1 girl, and my daughter's my 15-year-old. And I have a relationship with each one, with everybody. But yeah, your little girl, Daddy's little girl, it's always a little something different.
Yep.
Chuck's got 2 daughters, and he was before we started recording. He's his youngest. How old is she? She just turned 1. Daddy's girl. I love it. Like he was holding her before we started recording, and she's patting his back. Oh, it's adorable.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Are you a morning person or a night person?
Definitely a night person.
Yeah, so am I. And it's a struggle with me and my wife because my wife is a morning person.
Oh, yeah.
And I am not. So then when she gets up, she's all bubbly and in a great mood. I'm,
attack the day. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when it's nighttime and she's worn out, especially because we have a 2.5-year-old that she's just on and she's an amazing mother. She makes every meal for him, everything. And then I'm all bubbly and ready to chit chat and do things. And she's like, we're going to bed. I don't know what you think you're doing.
Yeah.
I am a night person.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you.
All right. Last one. You know what? This is perfect because this kind of falls right along with the last question I would have for you, John. One, before we go into this question, where can everybody find you on social media and website? What you got?
So I'm actually just launching in 2 weeks from now. I'm glad you brought it up because I don't like promoting myself too much, but this is my shameless plug, is Amputee Coach Now. Because when I almost lost my leg, Amputee Coach Now, the website's about to go up here. And here's the thing, is this last year after almost losing my leg again, I was reminded of how crappy losing your limb really is. And so God brought 4 amputees into my life this last year that I've been able to mentor. And I was literally sitting on this couch talking on my phone to a friend from high school who lost an arm and a leg, like you last March. He lost an arm and a leg. Oh. He's in the hospital bed, and I'm talking to him going, I just got out of the hospital, and I got to still mentor. I was able to help, we were helping each other out,
Yes.
And so over the last year, I've had 4 guys that I'm helping, like significantly changing the future of their lives by mistakes I've already made, and telling their families like they're going to be okay.
Well, let me ask you. So before we go any further, what do you have? Do you have a website, social media? What have you got? Follow, keep us in so we can follow you and keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, the best way to follow me is to look for amputeecoachnow.com. Amputeecoachnow.com.
We're going to put that in the
TikTok
here.
TikTok, Instagram is going to be Amputee Coach Now. And what I'm going to be offering, or what I offer, is a subscription-based amputee coaching service. So it's meant for amputees and or their family members who need support going through the amputation process. So I've been really fortunate this last year to help amputees, as I almost lost my leg last year, to be able to mentor. And I'm like, why am I not getting paid to like I have knowledge, 25 years experience as an amputee.
Yes.
I was like, man, this is a business. Like, why am I not getting paid for this? So,
and I'll tell you what, when I was in the hospital, when I woke up in the hospital, there were other veterans at Walter Reed. So my father has one arm, and my entire life, like I was no different than any other kid. I didn't listen to my dad. Then when I woke up in the hospital, his word was gospel, and every other guy wanted to talk to him. And it wasn't that, he just was this medical genius, but no, he'd experienced it. And that's who you want to talk to. You want to hear from people who've been there, done that. And I think it's amazing. I love that you're doing that. And I'm excited about promoting that.
Thank you.
Say the website again.
Yeah, Amputee Coach Now. And so a lot of times people,
Coach Now.
Like I had a guy I'm working with in Texas. He called me up a few weeks ago and he goes, dude, he's brand new. He just got his first leg. And he's like, dude, my leg messed up. Can we do a video chat real quick? Because I can't get into my prosthetist for a week. And I'm like, dude, you don't have time when you're an amputee to wait for a week to get a question answered. Like you need answers now. So that's where Amputee Coach Now came about, was like,
I love that. That's awesome, John.
Text or phone call away, and let's get your problem taken care of right now. And so, yeah.
I love that.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, so am I. I think that's very cool that you're doing that, and you'll be able to do that. And, and I think back of like you recovering right now, like you can continue doing that. And because there's always something going to be happening. And to be able to know your coach has been there, done that, is what makes you feel good and confident about calling them and saying, hey, what do I need to do next? Mm-hmm. So I love you doing that, John. That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So our last question, and it is our last question for this podcast, is if you could remind everyone here of just one thing, what would it be?
Pray. Don't forget to pray. So much of my life has been trying to pull myself by my bootstraps, or even rely on other people, even rely on treatment centers to fix me, or rely on therapies to fix me, and all these different things from the outside to change my inside. And what I've found in my experiences is that the healing power has always been in there. And for me, it's God. It's a spirit that I was born with, that unlimited spirit of creativity and goodness and truth. And it's already there, but I have to slow down enough. And a lot of times it's slowing down and just saying a quick prayer. God, I prayed before we came on here. Before I got on here with you, I said, Lord, please do with this podcast as you're going to do with it. Help me just be a vessel for your word. So if I could leave one piece of advice for everybody, don't forget to pray today. And if you haven't prayed in a while, it's okay. God will take you back. You can start today.
I love that. Thank you so much, John. It was truly an honor to have you on the show. If you're watching, we're going to put in the notes the website. Follow John Mabry. He's doing a lot of cool things. Thank you for sharing your journey, your ups, your downs, everything you've been through. And I love what you're sharing and you're continuing to do for everyone. And to everyone watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to subscribe, follow, just keep
Share.
this going. There's a lot of people out there to meet, and we're very grateful to have had you on, John. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for what you do. Keep it up, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
Bye-bye.